Initially there was nothing. But then with a crushing buzzing along came the universe, a cutting-edge creation, a brand new innovation, a stunning sight for all, including Higgs. But Higgs didn't have time to spare to look and gaze upon this breathtaking affair. She had a duty, and that was to care for the masses. So like any good particle, she constructed her field, and when done it sparkled. It was artful, stretching with strength from one edge of the universe to the other, all 480,000 Planck lengths, time well spent. She was now content. She took time to relax in a warm pool of creationary radiation, allowed herself to zone out of the mental universe of ionization and focus instead on the elation of a task completed, and her first guest has arrived. But Higgs' delight was short-lived, for gluon passed right through her field without even saying goodbye. He came back later on and this time brought a friend, Photon. They travelled on through, but once again failed to make a rendezvous with Higgs. She didn't know what to do. Distressed, she questioned her work. This problem must be addressed. What sort of field would hope to impress with a lack of interaction with any particular guest? Was her failure in acting on impulse and making the field a scalar? Perhaps, like gluon, she should try a different flavour, tailor the field to each particle, and then maybe her beloved field would truly sparkle. Before she had time to invest more thought into these ideas of unrest, another two guests made their appearance. Zed and Muon strode into her field fearless. But soon they were slowing. Zed and Muon weren't running off like gluon. Higgs wasn't going to be lonely. However, they weren't in the mood for conversation. Full of frustration, Zed yelled, "Your field is a violation. You force me into deceleration while gluon is able to speed without limitation. Higgs, Muon and I agree, you're an aberration. Please just come to that realization and close down your field. It's a burden on our fair civilization." But Higgs could not. For her field was her duty, and this torment only continued through the period of universal inflation. She received no more communication. Photon and gluon moved too fast to talk, and all the others left her in isolation, vexed at their velocity discrimination. Higgs was separated in segregation. She retreated into her field. Her piece of art that sparkled now became a shield to the universe that concealed her inner lost soul. She felt she had an imperfection, and this inner attention slowly drew her perception away from any suggestion that this universe she resided in was unimaginably spectacular. A lack of connection with others drew her into self-reflection, and thus began her regression down to depression. The time that passed meant nothing to Higgs. She was still trying to find her place, make herself feel less of an outcast. She'd periodically continue to ask that question of classic purpose, and the answer remained the same, to care for the masses, but now that answer lacked passion. Her duty was her duty, and that was all. No longer did she feel her field was sparkling and artful. It was now just a tool to slow others down. Higgs' despair continued year after year after year until she found the planet Earth. A planet with a place called Times Square, where up above the glare of Coca-Cola advertising was the latest cover of Time magazine featuring an article about her titled "The God Particle." Long-forgotten warmth returned to Higgs' soul as she found a people that knew her purpose, her role. These people proclaimed there's a reason behind disallowing any old particle to speed without control. They announced that Higgs and her field were the last bone in the fossil of their beloved standard model. Higgs had a place. And with a high-spirited face, she returned to deep space, now understanding herself. She is the base of a pyramid that stretches through muon, gluon, and photon, through physics, chemistry, and biology, all the way up to the human race. Higgs and her field give life, and thus Higgs and her field give mass, and thus give life. This idea of her importance was still met with strife by gluon, muon, and the others, and Higgs didn't have the patience to tolerate their trouble, so she turned back to Earth and the humans, her real brothers, assisting their wonderfully ill-equipped physicists in their search for new particles, new friends. They depend on her extending a benevolent hand, attending their experiments, and in return she is able to gather more evidence on herself, discovering her true nature. What she found was major. Higgs and her acres of sparkling field had no parting. They were the same creation. No consecration can part Higgs from her art. The maker and the made are the same. Because her fluctuating field hadn't migrated and still permeated the universe, we find that Higgs' previous isolated despair was in fact appearing anywhere and everywhere. And at some points in space and time, the Higgs field would start to race and climb, and maybe that's why some of us think I'm in lost case and I'm feeling no belonging, no grace, no charm in my heart. The feelings you don't see behind this face ain't prime. I wish I could have faced this crime, but the despair of isolation is encased in my mind. I cannot outpace continuous nighttime. I'm not worth my space in time. These are thoughts you do experience, and while they may not seem delirious, remember the Higgs field fluctuates. It opens and closes the gates of metaphorical weight. It activates and exaggerates and inflates our sense of being isolated. But you await the fate of abating the field's ability to dictate your traits. You appreciate that Higgs isolation resonates in all time and space. It vacillates. It generates dominating despair, but it fluctuates. It won't always dictate your great mind. Because at some point in space and some point in time, the field will decline and you will find your people. Higgs found hers. This despair of isolation only occurs in fluctuation. It will reach cessation. Look forward to it.